Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
I went online to become a private detective. It was a private detective school online, and I paid online. I never heard from them again. I thought to myself, I either got ripped off, or this is my first case. This is a journalistic podcast, Shannon. We vaccinate our listeners with answers. And I'm going to keep lip-syncing the important questions until TikTok gives me a show. Shannon, how can the moon landing be real if the moon itself is fake?
That's not true, Mike.
Oh, isn't it true, Shannon? You're fake. You're a hologram.
1 in 5 New Yorkers are food insecure. What's your solution for that, Mike?
Fortune cookie. Because that's food and advice at the same time. Shannon, at least have the decency to backstab me, okay? You stab me in the front every time. Some fans can't watch the podcast because they're triggered by our sexuality. And message to those fans, we will leak a sex tape right into your mouth.
This is Mike Vecchione Investigates.
And you're not better than me. Welcome to another episode of Mike Vecchione Investigates. I am still live via satellite, guys. I have to go out into the field once in a while and investigate the stories. I have to be on the scene. I cannot be coddled in either the small studio, which is usually our case, or the larger studio. I cannot be there coddled by familiarity. I have to go out in the field and really pound the pavement. So I am in Aruba right now. And is it a coincidence that it's 9 degrees in New York and that it's 82 today in Aruba? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I'm out here knocking on doors, lifting up iguanas, looking at sea turtles, investigating the sea. I was at the beach today. Oh, you're probably on vacation. No, it was investigatory. I was investigating. And for those of you who are like, oh, it's freezing here and you betrayed us because you go to a warm climate. It was pretty windy out there. It was pretty windy out there today. And the sand flew up and it almost hit me in the eyes. It's very close. So I'm working and Shannon is in studio doing her work, probably with an island trip planned soon, probably to the same exact place I'm at right now, as is Shannon's pattern. But we have a very special guest today. He is a hilarious comedian. He is international because he is not American, although a lot of people think he is. He is another Canadian. We have Ryan Long in studio. Ryan, thank you for joining us.
I've also been holding down the New York investigation department. I was just on the subway today. There was a lot of people sort of investigating their own bodies. I joined in on that to make sure that everything was in order. There was no fines, but I will continue that work because that's something that I care deeply about. And if, I'm just putting it out there. If you do need someone to be sort of a subway investigation correspondent, that could be a potential option for the future.
You could be our transit guy. Is that what you're putting for right now? Is this kind of a job interview right now?
I could be. Yes, I could be the transit guy. The thing is, the only thing I'd concerned about is I would want to keep it part-time because I don't want to get in too deep where I start to, it's like when the investigative, people go undercover and, I obviously want to keep my distance. Before I know it, I'm now doing crack in the subway with these people. Right. It is a slippery slope. You start to develop relationships.
You don't become what you're investigating, I think is what you're trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Right. But you do 3-4 overnights, all of a sudden, you're part of the community and you don't want to leave that.
Right. Well, I'm going to throw it to you since we'll see how it works. Let's go to Ryan Long for traffic and transit on the ones. Ryan, what'd you see out there today?
Traffic and transit on the ones today. Now, the subway is very, very full. I saw a large man. He had his shirt off. I was able to take a peek. I would say 20 to 30 pounds overweight. Okay. I still did find him moderately attractive. Had he had his hair, that might have been something that some of the women on the subway would have been interested in. In addition to that, there was a fight at around 3 p.m. Everyone enjoyed that. Wrapped up kind of quickly. I would have liked to see a little more damage done, but the one guy got off the subway. Actually, it was the first guy did not want to be part of the fight. The second guy sort of instigated the fight. Right. and also continued the fight. The first guy was sort of saying, please leave me alone. Who are you? Why is this happening? Stuff like that, sort of fighting language that we've all heard before, all this trick in the book. But other people on the subway are like, listen, get in the ring, pal. We all know what's going on here. This is a fair fight. You're squared up. I tried to block the door to, I didn't want the fight not to happen. I know how hard those are to schedule. So, but
do you like a surprise subway fight, Ryan? Do you enjoy it as a spectator? Because I know Shannon does.
Shannon, you do love you love a surprise subway fight?
I do, as long as I am within a safe distance. I feel like that can sometimes be enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I mean, there's that often when you'll get on a subway and there'll be like someone that's really, really, walking around crazy, and then you'll go to the other subway and then he'll get on that and you have to chase him down to like a second. You'll leave a second car. Right. Yeah.
I think what you're talking about is exercise, Ryan. and a lot of people can't afford gyms in New York. So chasing and fighting someone on a subway, is that becoming a little bit of a sport? Is that our pickleball?
That is sort of like, I would say less pickleball and more of just a general getting their steps in. You know what I mean? Some of those steps happen to be on, a pedestrian's head. Then the steps are on a pedestrian's head. But nonetheless, they are burning calories. And, you do want to move from subway to subway. I think it's them being considerate too, because they're, I've been on here on this subway. I've been yelling and screaming. I've been punching people. I just punched a woman. You know what? Let me go to the other subway, sort of have a spread the wealth around.
Right, because I feel like if you're doing that on the A train, you're like, this is more of a D train behavior.
Yes, that is correct. I've heard, they'll say, listen, if it's going to be, off peak hours, we can work on the A, but they a lot of these guys like to work clean, in the sense that what they do is they like to work with clean people when they're trying to steal money from them. So when they get on the A train and it's sort of a early thing, there's a lot of sort of more of them, and they're looking for a clean, like a family, maybe a man, woman who, has money and still rides the subway. That's the ideal situation for these people. Yeah.
I find it interesting to fight an entire family. You really get the lay of the land then. You really get to experience what it's like, because a lot of these people fighting, they didn't come from good homes. So it's like the best thing you can do, almost therapeutic, is to fight an entire family, maybe from Germany. And
honestly, if the fight goes in your direction, they're not going to be going back to a good home either. Ideally, they're going to be going to a foster home after you put dad in critical condition.
God, I love it. I love it. Now, this brings up an interesting point, since you brought up transit, and you are our transit expert here.
Currently, yes.
Different trains should be dedicated to different things. Everybody on the A train reads. Everybody's reading. So if you're not reading, hey, you're upsetting the train. Get off. Everybody on the C train is nude. If you're wearing clothes, you're the problem. You're the problem. Get off of our nude train. It's like, do you think specific trains or specific cars should have specific purposes? And then if you're not going to do it, you're not going to scream. You're not going to scream. Then you have to get off. Everybody on this train car is screaming.
Pal, you're screaming on the reading train. They do that on longer trips and the trains out of city. They have, this is the quiet car, for example. Yeah. And I think they've sort of introduced the idea of, in outside of the trains, like, this is going to be a safe, heroin site, for example. So why not have that this is a heroin seat, and that's sort of on you if you chose to be in that area.
Right. That's right. And I would say that if you're not
sort of I don't, not sort of interrupt, but I've been saying for a while is they could have potentially like a I've showered train, and then another train where it's I've been wearing these clothes for 5 or 6 weeks, and I've got maybe a basket full of my things, very big BO situation. So that's sort of on you if you're on that train and you go, it stinks in here. Yeah, well, look, tap the sign, and that is what's going on here. You're correct. You can read.
Not only it's on
the reading train.
If you smell good and you've taken a shower, you need to get off.
Get the hell out of there.
The smell.
Yeah, get the hell out of here. You have your own train. Yeah, you're interrupting what they wanted.
Yes.
They're creating an order. The 7 or 8 of them together are working together to create the type of odor that train.
That's right.
It's sort of it's a special je ne sais quoi that in their community. That's a big odor for them.
Well, our fans don't know what je ne sais quoi is. They barely speak English, but I would say flavor is, I think.
It's not, you're right. It's not just a smell, it's a flavor. And I was sort of, I was diminishing it by just calling it a smell.
Diminishing is another big word for our fans, even though we do like to condescend. We'd like to talk down to them. because they are
Yeah.
diminishing IQs.
Scum, yes, of course.
Love them.
The
Love
internet
them.
scum just eating up the slop from YouTube.
What
they
have
might,
you
they
been
might,
up to?
they might be sitting on the subway right now, listening to that, realizing
They
that
could.
they
They
should
could
be
be
in the
listening
smelly
to-
train. Yeah.
You could be listening to this on the subway right now. What are you up to right now, Ryan? What projects do you have? Are you still doing the videos? I know you have a podcast. I know you're working regularly in New York now, or how often are you on the road? Let our fans know.
Dude, I was on the road for like a good six months where I was doing like 3 weekends a month, or at least, 9-10 days a month while I was doing all the other stuff. And I had to cut that back. So I basically at the end of December, which I was gone all of December, I came back and I canceled a couple of cities in January, and I was just in New York January, and I already feel 1,000 times better.
Right.
I don't know if you've been on like the road like that, but I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
But
No, I have, but
it's
not,
impossible to do everything else. Like everything was falling apart at some point, and I post so much content and I do so much podcasting and all that sort of stuff that it was just everything was just, there wasn't like a single morning where I wasn't just like trying to chase.
Right.
And then you're on planes, then you're on this. It's very hard to run a business when you're on a plane every
you
day.
feel emotionally fragmented. Frayed, I think is the word introduced to our fans who barely work and do not lift a finger, so they don't know what you're talking about as far as being overworked. But what's it like to be? Are you frayed? Are you burned?
Overworked isn't even the right answer, because I feel like when you're doing one thing and a lot of it, I don't feel tired. Like let's say I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm working on some specific video, or if I'm just doing stand up, like I could do that for whatever amount of hours. And it is the 20 things at once that I think just your brain's not like meant to be doing those many things at once,
Yes. So you would do a weekend in a city, and then would you come back to New York, or would you just go to another city?
Sometimes, a lot of times I was going from city to city, and then I was bringing people, I was filming there. I was editing on the road. And then I was like, flying to Annie, then we'd podcast down the road. Then I would like go back to New York for like one day and then it was just out of control. But so I think I'm getting like a bit of a grip on what is that sweet spot of how much I can be on the road looks like, which sounds like it's about 2 weeks a month.
Did you hit a bottom?
2 weekends.
Did you bottom out?
I bottomed out.
Did you hit a bottom, and what did that look like? Did you fight a family on the subway?
Yeah. Canceled. It looked like getting sick, so I was like mostly sick.
Right.
And then you're just doing the same jokes. It wasn't really writing properly on the stage. But have you ever had one of those where you're like, did you ever burn out from just too much?
I never burned out like that. Because I've always done work and then come back to the city for a few days. But yes, have been busy. But I don't think that I work the way that you work, to be honest.
Yeah, it's all the YouTube, and I think it's just to be honest, if it's the edits, I think they're just it's the editing. If I remove myself from the editing, I would probably have a lot more brain power. But that's the hardest thing to get yourself removed from.
But it's the content, and these people watching us right now, they demand it. And what do you
demand it? Yes, they
what
get
do you
very.
say to them? They almost ran you into the ground, demanding content from you. Do you blame them when you see them after your shows? Do you take a shot at them? Do you punch them?
That is the best part of it, is you have these people, demanding it, running you to the ground, and you're like, this is what I do for you people. And if you literally just stopped, no one would care. No one would notice. It would after a couple weeks, a few people would be like, oh yeah, did Ryan like kind of not post that week? I think if your podcast misses a week, people start to be like, hey, what just happened there? Yeah. But like legitimately, you could just like disappear for 2 weeks before anyone would really notice all that much. So yeah, definitely it's in your own head, but you're like, yeah, well, gotta keep this algorithm train running,
Algorithm is the key word there. Algorithm.
Went to a lot of cool places though. It was a lot of these places I haven't been in America yet, so that was pretty cool. Nashville.
What's your regimen on the road? Do you have a fixed regiment where you get up, or is it like you get up and it's just work, or do you balance your life out where you get up, you do a little light yoga, you do some stretching, maybe you take a shower, maybe you have a phone call
shower.
with a loved one?
The only thing I do is run. So I've been short of working out a bit, but running essentially is my whole procedure right now. And I go about half hour. In the first, well, I just think that running is the most efficient of all the exercises. Yeah. So probably working out's better, but running, the moment you get up, so you can literally, you don't have to put on new boxers. You just put on the clothes that you were wearing underneath to sleep. So then you just put like maybe track pants and a sweater on. I run outside. I got the shoes on. So from waking up to being outside running is about 7 minutes. And then if I run for half an hour, come back right to the shower, that's 45 minutes from waking up to done my shower. So for me, I just feel like from an efficiency standpoint, that's the best activity.
Do you have a set time that you wake up or whenever you open your eyes?
Depends on what we like, the time and the, a lot of times it was too much flying in the morning, stuff like that,
Right.
But
what about when you're
tell you what, I started flying, I started upgrading to the better one.
Okay.
So I'm not like these people. Again, it's another thing they wouldn't understand. It's only $80, but I was getting back problems and I upgraded to the more leg room, and that was a game changer as well.
As a super medallion member, when you find somebody who's
What's
not
a super medallion member?
that's the high level of Delta.
Ooh.
I don't know what airline you're affiliated with, but Delta's a super medallion.
No, because I was all over the place. I was just buying on whatever one. I was using all the like Expedia sites.
But as a preferred customer, do you feel like you have the right to talk down to the customers who are in group 3? Or
I will once I am one, but right now I'm just like a scumbag buying the more expensive seat.
But you are buying the more expensive seat.
I am. That's what I am.
Better than the other people who are not.
I'm still better than them. Yeah.
Yes.
Taller than them. More importantly, if I was short, I definitely probably wouldn't do that.
Taller, and I'll say handsome. If Shannon's not going to say it, I'll go ahead and say it. I'll say more handsome.
All right. That's what I asked for, the handsome disco.
And you talk down to the people who don't sit in the seats. And what about these people who need extra time? Couldn't they just take the next flight? I mean, what's with the extra time? I mean, I'm in a hurry. I'm big business. I'm content creator. I'm a comic. And I don't understand why I have to wait for them for their extra time.
Just, if you have crutches or whatever, like, why is that our concern,
Not our business.
Show up 3 hours, earlier or don't. Really, it's not, doesn't matter to me. If your wheelchair is going to have trouble getting on the plane, I don't see why that should be bothering me in any sort of which way.
Don't see how it should affect me.
No, strollers, whether that be a stroller, whether that be a pet, whether that be, two prosthetic legs, whatever it is just not of our concern. Yeah.
Well, I mean, should we call ourselves low maintenance because we don't have any of those things?
I don't customers.
I don't have an emotional support reptile that I need to take on.
No. I don't have a 400 or 500 pound girlfriend that's going to be problematic. Seating arrangement.
Right, a seating arrangement. It's very tough. It's very tough. Do you sit in the emergency?
And you know what? Society, you're right, though. Society does not reward us for that. And that is something that we should be applauded. After the plane lands, they should applaud the pilot. Then they should can we also give an applaud for everyone else who was able to get on the plane with a timely manner, and everyone who doesn't have a super fat girlfriend. So let's applaud all these people.
Well, how about also
happening simultaneously with the pilot?
Let us get off the plane first.
That would be a huge one.
Board first, so let us off the plane first. Your thoughts?
That's a huge one, yes. And then honestly, to just make it simpler, they should just automate that. So they have the seats, and those seat belts are now you're not allowed to open them. So anyone who was half an hour late on the plane, sort of thing, they have those people just like sort of jammed shut. And then at the end of it, the pilot like releases seats of people like me and you, the high class people.
That's great. The seat belts, it's pilot controlled seatbelts.
Pilot controlled seatbelts, yeah. And then they, and just say like, all right, now releasing the scum, like let them know that.
Yes.
They need people. That is one thing that in the last 6 years, our society is missing more of than it needs is shame. I know we removed all the shame, and we need to bring back a little bit of shame.
Should we do that like Game of Thrones? When these people get off, we should go shame. Shame. And I think that would be fun.
Have an old mother come on, and she's sort of like the resident like shamer for each airline has like an Indian mother that kind of comes like shame.
Yes.
I
think that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a huge idea that these airlines should be doing.
We've come up. That's one of our great ideas on this. With this, I feel like this podcast so far. I think you're having a great episode. And
society doesn't like these sort of things. Society thinks that, shame's only a bad thing, but it's like, because it's, makes that person feel bad. Well, it's like, well, now they can funnel that feeling bad into showing up on time next time. So
Show up to be the 100% best that they can be.
show up to be the best
My
they can
football
be.
coach wasn't nice to me. He was like, "You got to do better. You got to get to the. You got to get your head in there. You got to get your head in there." And he was not talking to me nice. But you know what? It motivated me. It said, "No, you can't." He's saying you can't do it, and I got to make sure I do it.
Yeah, my dad said the same thing. He actually was the coach of my team, and he kicked me off the team, and I didn't let me try out. I actually quit hockey at that point, but
Wow.
he did teach me a lesson that for the next thing that I want to do in life, I'm going to have to try harder.
Well, I mean,
I didn't spend a lot of time with him because he coached a lot of teams, but
did that make you feel bad that he was spent his time coaching other boys?
well, no, because I knew even at that young age of 7 that he was teaching me a lesson. And so that lesson stuck with me where now I know that, you not only do you want a tiger mom and dad, you want to, and, in my case, a tiger mom and dad that you never saw. What you do want is a tiger stewardess. And that's something that they need to know. So Delta should have a tiger stewardess.
The airlines are kind of like our parents.
At the very least, they should be like our parents and then say,
But getting kicked off a hockey team in Canada is kind of like being thrown out of the country, basically.
Yeah. And
You're
I was the number
emotionally-
one scorer on the team as well, but I did, one game I didn't beat my average, and my father was not happy about that. He was visibly disgusted, didn't eat for weeks. I didn't eat for weeks, his demands, but
Wow. So does that push you today?
it pushes me every day. Yeah. That pushes me every day. He calls me a lot to remind me of that. He sends emails of, me crying. He's documented the whole thing just in case I forgot. So there's a lot of photos.
That's really,
Yeah.
It's in line with today's society. Everything is a documentary now.
It's also, it's a weird mix because in those days it was, you were allowed to be accountable for your actions. And I played that bad game when I was 7. So I'm the one who didn't eat dinner. I'm the one who had to sleep outside,
Right.
physically and literally. And I'm the one who, was kicked off the team. And that was me taking accountability. But at the same time, it was sort of a modern spin where everything was being documented. There's a camera on my face. They had a camera system sort of set up to, make compilation videos of me crying that they would put to Aerosmith music instrumentals.
Wow.
Mhm.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I know. And so I guess that's my story of why I show up to planes on time with both my legs intact and not a 500-pound girlfriend. But
And why
everyone's
you push,
different.
You push so hard.
Yeah. What motivates you to, for example, when you're getting on the subway, move in a timely fashion, or when you're getting on a plane, show up in time, not inconvenience others.
Right. I don't want the doors closing on me. I don't, but I do like being put in a special section. That's because they treat the special section people so much better than the other people. And I love feeling that way.
Yeah.
I love a hot towel. Don't you love a hot towel?
And now, does that hot towel come at the airport you're referring to?
Yeah. When you're on the plane.
If you're on the special section, yeah.
And when you're any kind of special section, and now it's not just first class, there's more leg room, there's business class, there's like all kinds of things almost first class.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
I love being treated special. I don't know about you. I guess you could call it privilege.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, for me, I have been treated that way, but I wouldn't consider it special because I deserve it. So
Yes.
I would consider I'm treated, appropriately for what I deserve.
Right.
And anyone else who I look around and they're not receiving that, it's like, well, what did they do to not put themselves in that position? So, yeah.
Did you, when you were kicked off the hockey team, did you go to the games anyway? Or did you start did it start the heavy metal phase where you were listening to Korn and flipping out a rebellious thing where it's like, oh, I can't play hockey, I will worship the devil?
Yeah,
You know
well,
what I mean?
that's a funny thing that you say, because the first year I was required to come to the games, but I had to sit in the trunk of the car. So I still had to be in attendance. I still had to wear the
Is
uniform.
that a Canadian timeout? The
That
trunk
is
of
sort
a
of
car?
yeah. It's, I don't know if that's cultural. I don't know if you have that in America, but they call that a Canadian, timeout. They call that it's what they call it, like I don't know if you've seen the television hockey in Canada, but they do like a Tim Hortons break where it's like a Timbit break. So we call that like a Timbit break sort of thing, right?
Okay.
So you're having a bit of a Timbit break, which means you're going to be in the trunk of your dad's car for a year. That guy's on a bit of a Timbit break. After
And
that,
what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts when you had to sit out all this time and you were in a dark place? Literally.
yeah, I was literally in a dark place. And
Yes.
sometimes I was actually in the physical hockey bag. And I was just disappointed in myself, that I
Yeah.
let people down, put myself in this position. Like I said, I've always been an accountability guy. And no, I did not participate in a medal phase, but I did so to support the family, because my dad did quit his job because he was full-time recreational hockey coach for other kids' teams.
God.
Yeah, so I did have to take a job where I would go into neighboring backyards and steal scrap metal and sell that. So it was metal related.
Wow.
But that was just sort of support the family at the young age of 11. But that was, again, it was my fault, because had I been on that hockey team, me and my dad could have sort of worked together. Maybe I would have made it to the NHL. He could have been my personal coach, and he would have had a job instead of having to be a recreational hockey coach of all these other kids. So I did end up, involved with metal one way or the other, but that was a part-time job at the age of 11.
I meant it as heavy metal, and you meant it literally.
Mhm.
That's called something in English terms and literature. I don't know what that is. Shannon, do you know what that is?
Soliloquy.
Is that a soliloquy?
Yeah, that's it.
Is that a onomatopoeia? What is that,
I
Shannon?
think
Is it just ironic?
I think it's a cinnamon. A cinnamon.
Is it a Cinnabon, Shannon?
Yeah, it's a cinnabon of some sort. Some plays in there.
I feel like irony is the closest of what you guys mentioned.
Okay.
So you're saying like Alanis Morissette, isn't it ironic? It's like,
like rain on your
asking-
wedding day.
just asking if you've joined a metal band when you were actually stealing scrap metal for rent, something like that.
Well, no,
Like-
it's like joining a metal band when you have an iron deficiency.
Yeah,
Is that something else? I mean, we're getting lost. And
it's all cinnamon.
Ryan's a very high volume, high IQ, rapid
High IQ thinker.
thinking guy. And I think it's maybe the nights alone in that trunk where your brain started
You have time to think,
Yeah.
You have time to think. You don't have time to do much else. Your hands are tied physically as well behind your back as part of the procedure.
Right.
What's the level of scum that you're experiencing in Aruba? Are these people high class? Are they low class? Are they disgusting you?
Well, I'm trying to my fitness goal, I'm taking my shirt off in public, and
Nice.
it's going pretty well. It's going very well because I'm making sure I'm getting to the gym, and I know that running maybe works for a lean guy like you, but I have to get into the weights and also do a
Well, I
combination.
might not be so lean if I was in the weights a little harder.
Well, yeah, it would shred you up. You'd be shredded.
That is the number one comment that I receive on YouTube videos, is that my arms do not meet the specs that some of the people that
Why
watch
do they
me
always
like.
have to go negative? Why
They
why
do go
can't they
negative.
accept the content that you're giving them for free,
Yeah.
and they have to insult your arms? Oh, your arms probably voted for Trump. It's probably something like that where they're saying. And it's like, can you just accept it? It's nothing to do with the video that I'm presenting.
No, the arms are a topic. And you know
How
what?
about your beautiful curly hair? Does anybody ever say that?
They never do. And I'd like to live in a world where men's bodies are not just constantly under the microscope, but we don't, unfortunately,
No, it's so easy to call somebody. I was just saying on the live before we went on air, how Shannon, the last podcast we did, we were talking about unfortunate looking. Even I didn't even say it. My guest did. They said this person's unfortunate looking, and then the guy went on and insulted me. He's like, called me a bag of scum, or some kind of like this disbanded bag of pasta. Like, he said something really hurtful, and I had to mute him. Do you do that sometimes?
More people need to be muted. Yeah. I don't mute the comments. I just soak them in, and then I look at my arms and make zero adjustments. I continue to run.
Okay.
I have at times started to do a push-up regimen of 100 push-ups a week.
Have you done that?
Yes. Well, sometimes after I run, I'll do 4 sets of 25.
YouTube comments as you're doing the push-ups?
You have to. Yeah.
Is there like your haters are your coaches? Your haters are your coaches at this.
Your arms are, you have toothpick arms. Yeah.
I'm
also, it is a small, I think you're better off with a toothpick body than getting fat as you get older.
Absolutely.
Out of the two options, you know what I mean?
Yeah, especially if you're working to keep lean, like doing a 30-minute run, doing a 45-minute run.
Starving myself to death.
Right. Starving yourself to death. And
I'll tell you what, there was a time when the lean body was more in vogue, and something switched somewhere where the
I think it is. I think tall, lean guys still win.
You think it's in vogue? Because I'll tell you what,
I think it's always, it's kind of a thing. Maybe not in the 50s, but ever since I've been alive, tall, lean is always a good, women love it.
Yeah, I sort of thought that tall, lean was like out and then it was making a comeback. But I think in the last little bit, like the whole like gym culture stuff has really taken the internet by storm a little bit.
Yeah.
Like every second dude's like a gym influencer. So everyone's sort of involved in this like getting swole culture. Yeah, there's a lot of shredded dudes on the internet right now. So
are you on any kind of a testosterone or supplement?
You know, it's funny. Actually, I was thinking that I was feeling like I turned 37 and I've been like tired the last little bit, but also I've been legitimately tired and you know, not sleeping in the planes and stuff like that. And then I was kind of like, maybe my testosterone's lower because I got older or whatever, right? And I was talking to Justin because I know he takes it, and he was like, yeah, you should do that. And he was like, yeah, just take like 9 needles every morning. And I was like, okay, well, that's out of the question.
Yeah. Justin goes extreme.
I was like, all right, well, I'm not waking up taking a bunch of needles. So I was like, maybe I thought it was like a vitamin sort of situation where I'm like, every couple of days I might take a booster, like I'm added to like a, you know. So I was like, okay, well, that's out of the question. But then I was vaping and I stopped vaping. So this is a fume, so it's not anything.
You vaping, is it nicotine?
Yeah. So for the last 2 years, like since the pandemic, I was like vaping, but it got to the point where I was like vaping every day. Right. And then I think I was eating bad. So I just started eating a little better and stopped vaping. And I swear this is like a month, I feel like, and I've been in New York, I feel 40% better. Like I have so much more energy right now. It's like night and day.
Superhuman.
I think it was the vaping, because the whole time I'm like, I have less energy, and I just thought maybe COVID, maybe I was getting older, and then I stopped vaping. It was like, so I'll tell you, people say these cigarette stuffs are bad for you, but I think it's worse than they even say.
No, I think so.
And I think vaping might be worse than cigarettes.
I think it is now. Actually, it's surpassed cigarettes. Because
just constantly, like, because there'll be a second where you're like, I don't know if, like, maybe I don't feel bad. You're like, oh, so I can vape more. And then you're like, you literally just like vape till you feel crappy. And then, it's just a vicious cycle. You wake up first thing in the morning, shove it down your throat. Bad news.
Did you smoke cigarettes before vaping?
No, I started vaping at 30. Like for my whole life, I could drink and have like a couple of cigarettes here and there, but like never would I smoke more than like 4 cigarettes a week. You know what I mean? Even if I was like smoking a lot. So never smoked. And then at like pandemic, I just started, like when I moved to New York, like people didn't really vape in Toronto really. And then when I moved here, vapes were getting hot and I started doing it. And then in the pandemic, I just got on it. And then before you know it, I'm like, did I just start smoking at 35?
Yeah. But vaping tricks you because you don't know. It's like cigarettes we equate with bad. Cigarettes bad. Cigarettes bad. Vaping, it's like, well, what's in it?
I know.
You know, it could be something good, you know. It almost looks musical. The instrument.
I think it was Dr. Drew or Dr. Phil. I think maybe Dr. Drew. He said he doesn't think vaping's that bad for you. Like there was a couple of medical professionals on record being like, no, I don't think it's that bad.
Right. Because I think it's pretty flavored. You know what I mean? Like all that cherry, it's got to be good. Cherries are delicious, and it's fruit basically.
That's what he's
thinking. Saying fruit is bad. Like, what are we doing here?
That's what he's saying. He's like, no, it's basically like eating a pear.
Yes, it's eating a pear. So eating more fruit is terrible for you. You're just vaping it. You're breathing it in. Wouldn't it be good if you could breathe in these things that we were all missing in childhood, like self-esteem or, self-worth, these things, vaping something like that?
Yes. You can vape, you can vape in, that promotion that you never got, you vape in the one that got away.
This goes into your bloodstream. So what are you doing now? I noticed you had it out in the podcast. Are you vaping now?
No. This is the Fume that Gas Digital does. You must have done a Fume sponsorship, no?
No.
Oh, well.
The sponsors kind of avoid us.
Shannon obviously knows what it is, but so Fume, it's like legitimately, I'm not trying to promote it so hard right now, but it's just this it's nothing. It's like legitimately just like a whatchamacallit, like a little like peppermint stick, basically. It's just like a scent. It'd be the equivalent of like
Mint.
a mint. Yeah, exactly. And you're just
You're
kind of it's like
vaping a mint
you're
now?
not no, there's no smoke.
Oh,
There's nothing. There's
okay.
no smoke. There's no nicotine. It's like it's like you're just putting your mouth on something. But
Right.
I quit vaping and they sent me like 40 of them, so I just have them kicking around.
And it's
Nothing
just
comes out.
minty. It's just a minty thing that you're sucking.
It's equivalent of having a gum. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
cool.
But
That's
not
cool.
a non-nicotine gum. I don't know. I think it's probably
What about one that's like a martini?
yes. That's what
You
I'm saying.
can just have like a martini.
They
and
need
it-
these ones sort of taste like tree branches a little bit, where they could probably have. They could probably give me.
Are you trying to say organic?
I could see like if you get me a sherbet, one of these, because these
Right.
are all of these are essentially like mint ones that taste like it's kind of all like your tree bark situation, which nothing wrong with it. But yeah, why couldn't you have cotton candy if it was not bad?
Is that
for
a
you?
new thing? Farm to table vaping?
yeah.
Tastes organic. It
Is this
tastes-
organic?
Just
Yeah,
tastes.
yeah, that's my favorite type of human. The smokes, but super, organic, healthy vegetarian, but
Yes,
smokes, which
love
I
it.
know many of them.
I love that. I love people who compartmentalize. That
Yeah.
person can kill a person and then go to a party and be fine.
Yeah, my mom does that. She'll ask if things are like organic, and she'll be like, "Do you know how many chemicals are in this?" And she smokes.
Is your mom and dad still together
No, broke
Okay.
up a while ago. Yeah, pretty early.
because of the hockey
I
situation?
think, because of that one game with me. That was the last straw
Your
for
dad
both
kicked
of
you
them.
off the team and then sent your mom away also. Your dad's seems like a no nonsense. He doesn't seem like a guy to be trifled with.
No, he doesn't want to be messed around. And they brought me into the room and he said, listen, because of your performance, we're going to be getting divorced. This does mean that we love you a little less. And we just adopted a new kid, same age. He's going to be taking your room, but you might be able to work your way up to your, I never did work my way back up to my room, but it was still a potential on the table, which keeps
Do you
you
think
going.
that helps if someone says we're getting a divorce and it's not your fault per se, but you could have cleaned your room more?
I've heard I used to that was one of my early jokes that I've heard a couple people do, but I've heard some people do. It was like I did it first year and then I realized it's one of those jokes that you're like a lot of people have done it,
Right. There's got to
But,
be a
like,
better divorce
the
joke.
idea of your parents saying we didn't love you any less and you're just like, yo, why would you? Like I hope, like why like I wasn't thinking that was the case,
Right.
but it
But
is like the
same thing is with,
cliche
do you
thing.
think if we change the joke to annulment, that would matter?
Oh yeah, we just annulled our marriage.
We annulled our marriage.
Yeah.
This smoke break is brought to you by YoDelta.com, the official Getting High sponsor of the Gas Digital Network.
No,
Are
but
you-
it's funny the idea.
Have
of
you ever
being
been
like,
married?
No.
Thinking about it?
Are you thinking about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, getting soon.
Yeah.
A big part of it for me is probably because I moved, left my whole life and moved here at 33 or 30, just before I turned 34.
Right.
I don't even know exactly, there's still a chance I moved to LA. It's just all, my life is still a little wishy-washy. So
You don't want to date someone that doesn't rollerblade?
yeah, that's
That what you're
essentially what
saying?
it is. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that, I don't know if I want to be settling down with, one of these New York girls, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
God, I thought it was just a
No, I
general.
was just saying for kids. And
When
all
you
that
said I
sort of
gave up my life and came here, it's like I don't want to marry an American. A United Statesian.
I'll tell you what. There's some people that I know that have had a kid with someone and then not ended up residing there.
Yeah.
And there's not much of a bigger nightmare that you can have.
Is that a strategy if you get married and you have kids and then you don't
You
like
just gotta
your-
be rich. And you have to be have real money where you basically say the women, we're moving you away from your family. If you have a kid with someone and their family kind of lives around there and
Right.
you don't want, you were like, this was a 2-year, stopover for me to live here.
Right.
It's
But couldn't
that's
you get-
maybe one of the worst things that you could have happen to you.
But couldn't you get yourself deported if you want to get out of the situation, and
No, but
then
you
you
don't want-
blame the government for
Well,
it?
what if you don't
"It's
want to get out of the
them,
situation?
not me."
I think that's what you do. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. For example, you go, listen, I wanted to be here for you, but I got deported. And they're like, yes, you got deported for not paying child support. And I go, that's neither here nor there.
It's neither here nor there. It's just one
Yes,
of my.
let's not get into the nitty gritty of what the reasons are, but the bottom line is I'm not allowed in this country anymore.
The bottom line. So you're waiting until LA.
They're like, yes, because they garnish your
And I
wages.
think the
and you stop
message is
paying
the girls
taxes.
in New
No,
York
I'm not
not-
saying I'm waiting for that. It's just that like it's still a little rambunctious for me.
Right.
Whereas you've been here for a while, you've been with the same person for a while. Like you probably, you know what I mean? Which
Right.
It's not that part. There is a little. It's just a more. I think before the next step, I settled down. I just get a little more exact on like everything's still changing a lot in my life. If that makes sense.
You ever date a comic?
No, I've never would.
Never would.
I don't think. I mean, obviously, you're one of the success stories that, to be honest, people mention when they say a good success story. So
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. She's locked in the closet now.
that's
But
what you have to do. You got to lock yourself in the closet too. You got you got to keep that part of you out of the closet. But no, but I think that most people do have a. You hear that a lot. That people will say, "This is not the move," and then they go, "Well,
Right.
Joe and Mike, and
Right.
you guys
Yeah.
are the success stories." Tom Segura. So there's actually quite a few of them now.
yeah, I think hero is the word that you're looking for.
Heroes, dude.
Heroes.
I mean, there's
We're
a
all
ton of
heroes.
benefits.
There is benefits to it.
Yeah,
There are benefits to it. Somebody who understands what you're going through. But I went through the whole nine. I dated a comic. I dated a waitress. I dated a fan. And then I did it again. So I think it just matters
Yeah.
more.
And you
Person.
found that dating all those people at the same time was difficult, so you had to pick one.
It's a good Netflix series, but not good for your life.
Yeah,
But
I
I would-
did. I did a fan. I did, a comic. I dated the
Hopefully
waitress at the
someday-
club, and I just thought, you know what? I can't do this 5 girlfriend thing anymore.
It's too confusing. Too
Can't
many
remember their
cell
names.
phones. Too
I
many
did
cell
someone
phones.
that works in tech.
You don't
right
want
now.
someone going through your cell phone.
Yeah, you can't, dude. Especially when you have 5 different cell phones, you have all
Yes.
the burner. Now they're going through your phone. They're going
Yeah.
through your burner, and then
Yeah.
where's my burner?
I mean, Verizon needs
But what do you think if you tie the knot, Mike? Or
it
are you
froze
hitting
for a
the-
second.
Oh,
Shannon,
I think
let's
we're
go
back.
to Shannon, are you still here?
Yes.
I'm
okay.
here.
What time are we at?
40. Hold on, I clicked away from it for 1 second. About 41 minutes.
41. Great. Let's go to plugs and then let's do the stories.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us on Mike Vecchione Investigates. Thank you for supporting the YouTube premiere every Monday at 9 p.m. Thank you guys for being on there, and thank you for liking and subscribing and your comments. We infinitely appreciate it, as I say every episode. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I have dates coming up, MikeVecchione.com. So look for my dates. And at Comic Mike V on all social media platforms. Make sure you follow me if you haven't already. And also, I have a date for my special release now, produced by Nate Bargatze, an 800-pound gorilla. Is going to be March 24th. March 24th, I will have the link. It will be on the 800-pound gorilla channel, but Nate will also have it on his channel, and I will put it on my channel. The name of the special is called The Attractives, and it will be out March 24th. March 17th, it will be out on Sirius XM. March 24th will be the YouTube premiere. And so I'm going to make a run, be on some podcasts, try to do the circuit in order to promote it. But March 24th, the YouTube premiere of The Attractives. So keep a lookout for that. As I said, dates coming up, MikeVecchione.com for all dates, and at Comic Mike V on all social media platforms. Ryan, what do you got?
That's great, dude. I'm pumped for that. Very
Thanks.
cool. My podcast is The Boys Cast with Ryan Long. So that is a podcast that comes out every Friday. And then on top of that, I'm going to be in Buffalo, Calgary, Boston, Las Vegas, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Tampa, New York, RyanLongComedy.com for tickets. And also I release a video every Monday. So at Ryan Long Comedy on everything.
Awesome. Shannon, what do you got?
You can follow me on Instagram at ShannonLee6982 and listen to my podcast, The Thing Is, Ding. We talk about bad dates, fighting, and ghosts. Wherever you listen to Mike Vecchione Investigates, you can also watch it live for free every single Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern at gasdigitalnetwork.com/live. That's absolutely for free, but the best way to support this show is to go to gasdigitalnetwork.com, use promo code MVI. That'll give you a 1-week free trial, which gives you access to every single episode of this show we've ever done, as well as every episode of every Gas Digital show, all for free for 1 week. We're approaching our 100th episode, Mike, by the way.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so close. We
It's
should
going
do
to be a
something
big
fun.
anniversary, huh?
We should do something fun for it.
We'll have to talk about it.
Okay. If you have your own video investigation to submit, send it into MikeVecchioneInvestigates@gmail.com. If you listen on iTunes or YouTube, make sure to rate, review, leave a comment, subscribe, tell a friend. Every little bit of interaction helps the show to grow. And go to podcastmerch.com for t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs. That's it.
Awesome. All right, Ryan, this is an investigatory show. I really had a good time like shooting the breeze with you, and that's fun stuff, but now it's time
What's
to
the
get
business? Yeah.
we called you in because of your investigative skills. And it was a pleasant surprise that you want to be our transit reporter. But we have to get into nitty gritty investigations now. Are you ready to investigate?
Of course.
Okay. Shannon, what's this pretty privilege that we're hearing about?
So this first article is titled, "I'm the recipient of, quote, ugly privilege. Being pretty is overrated."
Okay.
And so this is a girl who she is self-proclaimed ugly. I don't think she's an ugly girl. I'll show you her picture real quick. This is her.
Okay.
And she claims that
Very pretty.
I think she's very pretty.
Very
But
pretty.
she claims that there is a benefit to being, quote, ugly, where people take you more seriously, whereas hotter people think that they're stupid. And that when you're out and about in like a club or a bar, you don't have to worry about men constantly approaching you. You can walk in the street at night. Men don't bother you, et cetera, et cetera. So she says that she prefers her ugly privilege.
Ryan, as a hot person, do you find this to be true? Are you hassled all the time because of your high cheekbones and your big blue eyes?
I think I look kind of regular, but the her thing, she was right.
Being humble make you hotter? Does being humble make you hotter?
She was wrong about the second one. The smoking hot girls get actually less people hitting on them than your average. The first part, she was like, for example, if people think that, like, let's say you're like a hot chick, for example, right? And you have like a good job, and they go, "Oh, she probably only has it because of her job." That's what she said, right?
Right.
Yes. Okay. So she's right that when you have like good things, a lot of people attract, like, you're like, "Oh, that's just because that girl's hot." But it's like, yeah, but she's missing the part where that's true.
Right.
So she's missing the first part where you do actually get better things. They actually did a study of so women and in marks in school, and they did it was like a fairly big study that's been replicated, and women that are hot got worse marks when they were doing online classes than when they were doing classes where the teacher had interaction for them.
Right.
And then, but it didn't affect men. So for women, it affects them, and hotter women do get better marks, and for men it didn't affect them. So there is different with stand-up, for example, and with people, it's a matter of how you interact with people. So I think if you're like a hot chick, if there's different ways that you could manipulate someone. If you're like a manipulative girl that's trying to trick a guy into something, So
Right.
if you want to lean into that, if you want to lean against it and you want to be like, I get everything I deserve, and you want to pretend it's not real, then
Right.
it'll be a problem for you. You know what I mean? It's like
You
a
could
rich
make it
person.
work
Yeah,
for
it's like
you.
a rich person that wants everyone to think they're not rich. Like it's
Right.
it's negative if you're trying to avoid it, right? But if you actually use it, there are benefits. And then when you look at like a comedy setting, depends on the thing. So if you're talking to a couple and you're an ugly person, it'll be easier to get the member of your sex on board but it might not affect the other sex. So for example, if you're like a hot girl and you're talking to a couple, the girl might be like, who's this, hot girl talking to my boyfriend?
Right.
But if she's fat and ugly, then she'll like naturally like you. If you're specifically ugly on stage, there is like from members of your sex, there's more of like a amicableness to you.
Because everybody wants to have a friend that makes them feel better about themselves.
Yeah. And they're on dates. They don't want to be threatened, Like,
right. No one
I
wants
get that too. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
like, I don't want to bring my girl on a date to like have some Adonis make her laugh like that. It's annoying.
Is that the way you feel a lot of times on the road?
Yeah. That's how I feel specific. I go, listen, I run a half hour a day. And like, listen, I know you may see them as noodle arms, but I see this as the figure chiseled from God. And that's me like, I go on stage. I go, have you ever seen that, by the way? I actually have, but like the version of that of being a pretty, I would say like reasonable looking guy, but not like some crazy hot guy, and being like, as a guy that's super hot, like you're like, I was like, you're like fine, but like keep giving qualifiers about how hot you are, and you're just like, I've seen girls kind of do it ironically sometimes, but I've actually know two different guys that have like give qualifiers of like, yes, I know I'm attractive, but it's not as good as you think it is. Like, and you're like, whatever. You're
doing my act. That's my act.
There's a New York guy.
Part of my set where I tell them that I'm attractive and to calm down from it.
Yeah. Okay, take it easy. I'm not trying to steal your girl. And everyone's like,
but do you think that you say your noodle arms in order to disarm them, and then you throw your noodle arms around their girl?
I think that I think that, again, I'm sure that like the same thing that I've heard this conversation happen on a million times on podcasts with, fucking DeStefano or whoever, where you go, okay. If I was before I did comedy and I was in the band scene, I looked pretty normal, but in comedy, yes, like it's maybe, like whatever. Right. But, no, it's just a matter of what type of comedy you do. I think a lot of times, like
people want to see somebody who's, making fun of themselves. They don't want to see the guy who always wins.
See,
that's not funny.
Okay, find me a guy that's popular, that's really good looking, looks like he was good with girls. Kind of, I bet you think he was popular. That most of his comedy is about how he always like very self-depreciative. I find depression is one. A lot of times guys that are good looking will go, I'm depressed, I'm anxious or whatever, something like that. But a lot of times, I don't know, think about like, you might say like a Tosh.0 or Jezelnik, or you can put those guys in like somewhat good looking category. Right. I find a lot of times you go the other way. Because the truth is, like, how did you make your friends laugh? Like, how are you funny before? Sometimes it's gross. Like when you see someone attractive and they come on and they go, oh man, like, my life's so hard. Everyone's like, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be, I feel like, place or with some kind of vulnerability though, but it's got to be it's got to track, right?
I find it doesn't track that often. I don't know. I think it tracks more when people get like older and they have kids, you know what I mean? And it's case by case. What's your energy,
What's your energy?
Yeah.
Do you think ugly people have more time to read books and they're not being harassed by just getting hit on? It's like, oh, let me touch your breasts. Let me put my fingers in different places on, and it's like, I'm trying to read.
I can be whereas a normal person can be at the bookstore with, about anyone. The only time anyone's going to notice them is when the janitor starts sweeping and they go, hey buddy, you got to, pack it up.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Shannon, I'm going to go to you on this, Shannon, because you're very hot. Is it possible for you to read a book in public?
Is that a possibility, Shannon?
Is it possible for you to read a book in public without somebody trying to buy you a drink?
I prefer to listen to books, though. Does that still count?
Because hot girls don't read?
Well, she has to keep her eyes open for, people that are going to come up to her and, hey, do you mind if I pay your mortgage? Excuse me.
I mean, does that get disgusting, Shannon, when people like Ryan said, trying to pay your mortgage?
Just nonstop.
I'm like, oh God, please stop trying to give me money. Can I just listen to a book? Yeah, it's so annoying.
Right.
Yeah. And you're listening to your self-help books and they're coming up to you being like, listen, I just want to put you on an allowance. All I want is a conversation once a month. I want to see the bobs every, now and then. And you could even give me one new picture of the bobs and I'll give you $1,000 a week, that kind of stuff.
I did have somebody reach out and say that they asked me from my Venmo and they were like, okay, whenever you go to like buy a coffee or something, tell me and I'll send you the money for it. And it's like, that's like more of a hassle than actually what you're doing for me, that I have to actually text you every time I'm getting a coffee. Like, can I get like maybe $30 at the end of the month or something?
Yeah. Can I just tell you that, hey, you know what? Let's make this easy. I get 20 coffees a month.
Yeah. Give me $50. We're good.
Let's just sort it all out up front. That's how many coffees I drink.
Shannon,
if I don't drink that many, I'll send you back the difference.
Yeah.
Shannon, are you on a coffee allowance in Staten Island? And my follow-up question is, how many pictures of your feet do you have to send him?
0. He didn't ask for anything in return. He said he wanted to be my quote pay pig, but I feel like a pay pig, if you're just giving me $5 at a time, that's not.
You're a pretty crappy pay pig. You're more of a pay minnow at most.
Pay piglet.
More of a PIG 13, because that is
pay pigging. I'm sorry, I'm not young like you guys are. What is pay pigging, please?
You probably could have deduced that it's when you give people money.
And you get off on that.
I guess this guy gets off on that.
Some kind of a thing.
If he ever sees like a coffee stain on her shirt while she's doing Real Ass Podcast, she goes, guess who fucking paid for that? Sorry.
But what does he get out of it, though?
That's a humiliation component, right?
I think so.
Shannon, is that what it is?
Yeah, I think that a lot of them, from what I've heard from other girls, like female comedians, is they say that guys usually like to be like demeaned through DMs and stuff, and then they just like being used for something.
Well, I'd be humiliated if I gave you money for coffee and you bought like a tea or a decaf.
Mm-hmm.
I would flip out. I'd be like, that's not what that's for. You're demeaning me and it's making me aroused. Is that how it is, Shannon?
Similar to that.
Okay. I must have got it. I got it wrong. As a hot girl, Shannon, for me and Ryan both, let us know, because it was investigatory, of course.
We're sort of investigating pretty privilege right now,
we're
right?
Investigating and the opposite, which is ugly privilege now, according it's being flipped on its head. And it's
there's the bottom line is there's both. It depends on the scenario. That's the actual answer to her question.
Is it possible to take this ugly privilege or pretty privilege and to flip it on its head and make it empowering?
That's what happens.
That's throwing you off.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's, what, and if Shannon wanted to, right now, she says, oh, this guy wants to give me a coffee. That's a pain in the ass, right? This low level pay pig. Okay, so now we got a hassle on our hands. I'll tell you what wouldn't be a hassle is we get this pay pig on the hook for, let's say, a couple coffees. Then we go, you know what? I've been drinking more coffees. Like, you know what? Maybe this pay pig. And then within 6 months, Shannon finds more pay pigs. And now you've weaseled these suckers up to, let's say, $5,000 a month. And you've got this guy on the hook for $5,000 a month. Now, all of a sudden that's empowering. And you're using your appearance. You're in charge of your body. You're empowered. You're liberated. And you're making $5,000 a month off this slob. So that's how I think.
You make a great point, Ryan. Can you have so many pay pigs that you have a pay farm?
Yes, and I think that I don't want to tell Shannon how to live her life, but at some point I would recommend doubling that, and you sleep with them for that money. So that's always an option that's on the table. Now you're really empowered.
Ryan, Shannon, can you be a pay pig and also be kosher? This is another question.
That's a good question.
I don't know.
None of us are Jewish. We'll have to leave that. We'll have to ask one of our Jewish friends afterwards.
Jewish people probably don't have to give as money to get as humiliated, because in their culture, for if you lost like, $10, but in this one, you get ripped off of $8. It has sort of the same effect on them. You're equally as humiliated.
Humiliation is the key here, I think. So Shannon, as a pretty
especially
person,
if they start telling the people at the synagogue about that they just got ripped off of,
that's humiliation.
I guess gave this girl $1,000 for coffees and I have nothing to show for it.
Right.
You're going to be more humiliated in your community than
not even a stock or any kind of a bond option or a 401k.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon, do you feel targeted sometimes because you are a pretty person? Conversely, would you say that ugly people are, instead of targeted, Walmarted? Is a term that because ugly people go.
They're targeting their Walmart.
I will say that because my weight has roller coastered a lot through my life, that I have experienced both sides of this. There is definitely a difference, and I would definitely prefer to be on the prettier side. I don't know if these people, if they have to cope with life by saying that it's cool to be ugly, that's cool. But it's always better to be, people treat you better when you're a better looking person. There's no way around that.
I'm sure you probably, even without changing your looks, you find that people treat you better when you just look like dress better that day.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Shannon, do you think that because she's saying that heavier, uglier people don't get attention and no one wants, they can walk alone at night, which is dangerous? What about Silence of the Lambs, where the girl was a bigger girl and he kidnapped her because of that, and that he would try to live in her skin?
Explain that.
It's, remember he kidnapped the girl? They were moving the couch.
Well, for
this
example,
is a 90s movie for those of you who are just don't watch movies anymore, but you watch TikTok. But he was moving and he kidnaps a heavier set girl because for the specific purposes of wanting to use her skin as clothes. There could be that scenario. So she was maybe in terms of society uglier or bigger, but she got serial killer attention because he wanted to wear her skin as clothes.
And there was going to be more skin, harder for her to get away. A couple factors.
Yes. Yeah. And he kept her in the well. Do you guys remember this movie, or am I just talking?
As far as kidnapping goes, you've actually only kidnapped one person, but you've per square pound, you've actually kidnapped more people.
Right.
As far as,
per square pound. Wow. That's, do you find is it hard?
Depends on how you measure people. Do you measure people in people, or do you measure people in pounds, where you go, how many pounds of people did you, fish? We don't say I got 20 fish. You say how many, you say how much pounds of fish do we have?
Right.
Someone doesn't say, oh, I caught 85 tunas. You're like, hey, I caught, 9 pounds of tuna. So it depends on how, does he look at it like that?
Is it weird for you not to use the metric system? And are you doing that to make us feel comfortable? And
we use both, but we use both, and we don't use kilograms for weight, but it is difficult for me to not use kilometers and meters. But for weight, I don't use stone or kilograms. I've always used pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. And we use inches as well.
Inches.
Feet and inches for people, but kilograms for everything else. Yeah. That's the stupidest thing that Americans refuse to switch on, because it is
we will not move the decimal. We will not move. I don't care how easy it is to move it to the left.
It's a better system, but it is hard for me to switch to miles and feet.
We love it. You know how we countered it? Because when I was coming up, it was like, we're gonna have to switch. We're gonna have to switch. We're gonna have to switch. Get used to this. Get used to the metric system. And finally, we were just like, we have so many people that we don't have to switch now. We just kept having more people. So overpopulation.
It's so funny. Like kind of actually what happened though.
It is what happened. I mean, this is a news-based podcast. Shannon, let's go to the next one. That one we really squeezed dry for everything that we had there. It was a good one.
Okay, so the next one is there's a new beach that's going to be opening up in Manhattan this summer in the West Village, but you're not allowed to swim at it.
Okay, a beach where you can't go in the water. And it's
sand, yeah.
Yeah, it's the West Side Highway. Is this what this is, Shannon?
It says it said the West Village, and it says that it's the Gansevoort Peninsula is what they're gonna call it.
Gansevoort.
Yeah, is that where? Isn't there the Gansevoort Hotel? I don't know if it's the same area.
Wow. And so, what is it? Just a body of water? Is it the East River?
I think it's the Hudson. I'm really bad with direction of where.
Is it just because the water is kind of gross?
Yes. Yeah.
So you basically have a nice beach on a swamp.
Yeah, basically.
They said there's going to be an athletic field, a launch for kayaks and small boats, and a tree-lined promenade and waterfront access, but you can't get in the water.
Yeah, but you're kayaking. You're in the water, are you not?
You can't, I guess your body will sizzle away if your skin touches the water.
Wow.
I think a lot of people are going to like that. I mean, so many people go to those beaches. And the truth is, there is a benefit to that, because you know who
I would say most adults go to the beach to maybe, tan or have a couple drinks, especially any girls I know, you know what I mean? And then families of, 9 gross people go to the beach so their kids can swim and flop around. So it's almost de facto, you're getting rid of these families from the beach.
That you're saying families won't go to it. They won't go to.
If you're taking your kids to the beach, you want to take them to where they can swim.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, this will just be like sort of an adult party beach.
Well, for these families, do you think that they should have a buffet for them? Maybe they can have a good time.
I think they can go to Coney Island and they can, you know what I mean?
Coney Island. But this doesn't make sense because you can't get in the water. This is a wealthy area. Can't there be?
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be a lot of,
Can't they replace the dirty water with bottled water? Avion?
Okay, so I see what you're saying.
Yes. I mean, this is wealthy. How wealthy are we? Take all that water, purify it, turn it into bottled water.
Put it back in.
Yes.
And don't put the gross fish back in. Put the good fish back in. The gross ones.
Yeah, the gross, the ugly fish.
Get rid of all the ugly fish.
Right.
Take the water out. Purify it. Put it back in. I don't see why they can't do that. Especially, like you should just be able to have 1 or 2 big boats, and they just sort of one goes out one side, one goes at the other side. They have the purifying in the middle on a net sort of thing. Just do sort of one whip through, purify the whole puppy. Bing bang boom.
Bing bang boom.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we can fake put a man on the moon, I think we can do this. Shannon, would you go to a fake beach in the West Village?
I like, because when it's really hot in the summer, I would like the option to at least take a little dip in the water. Otherwise, you're just like burnt. Like, I don't know.
One less person going. I told you, man. That's going to be a big benefit for the people that don't really care that much about swimming. This is going to be a not packed beach,
Ryan,
which is the biggest problem with New York beaches, is they're too crammed.
Let me change the equation a little bit now, Ryan, and see where you are on this one. It's a nude beach.
Do I want to go to a nude beach? No.
Do you go now?
Nude beach doesn't interest me at all. No.
No?
Zero interest.
Shannon, do you go to a nude beach? Maybe to pick up a firefighter?
No, because I feel like it's almost never hot people on a nude beach.
That's a good point.
It's not. And if it is, it's a lot of gay dudes. I mean, there was a big one in Toronto that everyone used to went to, and it was like essentially a gay beach.
What about a beach, and I'm just spitballing here, guys, that's also a dating site? The beach is only people who are on Raya are allowed in.
Mm-hmm.
Would that solve the problem?
Only
hot, famous people.
It depends. I'm telling you, if it have to be heterosexual Raya, which would cause problems, but otherwise they disintegrate into a gay beach always. And then you're like, it's not that you go, well, why do I like? Essentially, once something becomes like a gay thing, it was like, well, yeah, it's like now it's just going to be 90% guys, so I don't want to look at dongs all day. But I think it's very hard to discriminate where you go, hey, we're doing a nude beach, no gays. So they all just kind of become, they all just kind of become. We have a gay
section or a gender neutral section, non-binary section.
It honestly does get a bit tough. It's almost like you have to spin it in a way where you're like, no, this is the main section. We're sending the straight people over to the crappy section.
Yes.
You can't say like, hey, the gay people, you're in the bad section. You have to be like, you know what? This is a gay beach. And then that 80% part over there that doesn't have a vantage point of here, that's where we put all the gross straights.
Yes.
So that's how you separate them.
Straights over there. That's
I think you'd have to sell it as the straights can't come in the good gay section.
Right. You reverse psychology.
That's the only way to pull it off. And then you convince them that they don't want to be in this gross straight section with all these boobies.
Do you think that there would be like housing on the beach and that would be high priced? High priced housing?
Definitely. The condos on that.
A rent control section? A rent control?
Nothing gets rent controlled anymore. New stuff. Isn't everything rent controlled old?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, those beachfront West Village properties are going to be
if we can do anything, how about putting a beach in a bike lane? We put everything else there. Possible? Anything's possible.
Yes. And these bikers do in some degree deserve it. So like to see.
Okay, well, I mean, we did a good job with the real estate part of that. Let's go to the next one, Shannon. This one's a big one.
Okay, record-breaking $16 billion expected to be wagered on Super Bowl 2023.
Wow. Now, Ryan, do you bet? And do you bet on
No,
our?
I don't. I don't bet, but I do bet on the Super Bowl.
You will bet.
I will bet on the Super Bowl.
Bets on the coin toss, the wind direction. Do you bet
I'll
on?
do it. That's the only time that I'll bet is the Super Bowl.
Oh, well, you bet every bet. There's like 1,500 bets that you could make.
No, I obviously not every bet, but I will bet. I'll bet coin toss. The only bet I won't do is I won't bet unders ever, because I'm not,
What about do you go to
Weasley
illegal
bets.
bookies or you do it offshore?
No, well, both. I'll do, like a MyBookie type site or one of those. Especially if you sign up, you can get your bet doubles out of the gate. And there's like few of them. I probably signed up for two. There's usually one or two extras you're cooking around, right? So sometimes I'll do that, or I'll do 1-to-1 bets on the just like straight up 1-to-1 bets with people.
1-to-1 bets with people. And are they dangerous people? Isn't there a little bit of danger that if you don't pay, somebody will come and try to?
No, I'm not saying bookies. I'm saying people that are at the event.
Let me say something about Canada. Canada has a pretty strong mafia. You guys are like in Montreal and in like other cities, like you guys are actively
Montreal's very strong.
Actively killing each other.
Yeah. So when you're doing those $100 bets, in the case that I do lose the bet, and then my wealth sort of deteriorates to zero for something different where I wasn't able to pay this and I thought I would be able to, just unrelated, I sort of lose everything. Right. Now I'm in the hole to some dangerous people, Canadian mafia guys living in Montreal, which means they speak French, which makes it extra scary.
Oh, that is scary.
I mean, you're tied up in a basement. It's obviously scary enough, but then some guy comes in, tabernacle, he's spitting on you. Does add a little bit to the ambiance,
It really does. And Italian speaking French.
French Italian. It's essentially Italian, but adding more hork into it.
Yeah. It's almost as bad as poutine.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're going to turn you into poutine is what they're going to do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Turds.
Although poutine is amazing, so appreciate you
Poutine
taking
is
that back.
amazing. And poutine.
Surprised that's not a big American thing. The most surprising thing to me how poutine hasn't caught on in America.
Poutine sounds like something that you would call a woman who's betrayed you. That poutine.
Well, I'll tell you, it's called poutine.
Poutine.
Mm-hmm. Everyone calls it wrongly poutine.
Oh, okay. Everybody's wrong in America. 350 million of us are wrong. Ryan,
that is correct.
Set me straight. Yeah. I'm a fat, arrogant American. Set me straight.
Well, it is partially that you're fat American. It's mostly that you're English.
Right.
Because I think most of Canada says it wrong as well.
Okay.
But if you talk to a French Quebecois person, they don't say oh, la poutine. They say la poutine.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like
Vladimir.
Those guys are
both equally good.
Putin.
Both equally good, both equally sexy.
I'm going to ask you this. I just want a straight answer.
I would go to war for either.
You go to war for who? Putin or
Putin? Or Putin.
Putin. And let me ask you this. Who do you have winning the Super Bowl? Who's your pick?
I do not know who's playing yet. So that's how the extent to which I'm connected to that.
It's
I find out the night before.
This is the live update. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles.
Is that this Sunday?
That is this Sunday.
Okay, I think I'm doing it, but I think I have shows at like 11, so I'll probably do it and then dip out. But... No, I think I am. I am out this Sunday, but I don't have big plans for it. But I will do it. Maybe go to the stand or something. I think I did that last year.
Are you rooting for it? They don't have any TVs there. Are you guys going to sit there and talk about the game or?
Well, usually it would be nice because I don't care. You can find someone that'll take 1-to-1 action when they have a worse deal, right? Because that's their team.
Okay, yeah.
I'll bet on a few. To be honest, that's the reason that I'll bet on a few things because otherwise it's hard for me to give a shit because I don't really pay attention to sports.
You don't pay attention to football or sports?
No, just in general, any sports. But that's why I'd say the sports games I'll go to is basketball, hockey if the Leafs are playing, like
I'd come to New York or UFC because those are the easiest ones to pay attention to when you don't really. Football's not that fun to watch if you don't really pay attention. Either is baseball. Whereas
Well,
basketball, all you need to know is you go, those are the two main guys on the team. They don't have helmets on. They're going to be playing the whole game. It's pretty easy to sort of catch up with what the game is. UFC, you're like, those two guys are fighting.
right.
Yeah.
So you're not going to watch it at all, or maybe
No, I'll watch. I'll probably go to the stand. I just wasn't paying attention. But no, I've watched it the last 2 years in New York. I'm doing spots, so I'll be out and about, right? But I'm not going to like a specific party. Are you?
I'm watching it down here. It's a big game because I'm a huge Eagles fan.
That's your team. Are you
Yeah.
having a party?
I'm going to go to a party.
Okay.
I'm here on the island, so
Yeah,
we're gonna
Queens,
go
right?
No, Aruba.
Oh, you're gonna be watching Aruba.
I'm actually in Aruba, yeah. So I'm going to go into this big. It's like a sports bar. We'll go to this big room and watch it.
Yo, that'll be awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, super fun.
I was waiting for a big pick, but okay. If you don't care about it, then
No,
I will.
I'm not the guy for that. You got the wrong guy, pal.
Yeah.
Shannon can do my pick for me.
Shannon, do you want to pick?
I
Be
also
very careful.
I also didn't know who the second team was. I knew the Eagles because you guys are all Phillies fans. I didn't know who the other team was. So I'll just say the Eagles.
Thank you, Shannon, for
Great answer, right?
thank you for agreeing with all the comedians that you know and love. And I'll say love.
It's true.
I'll say it. Okay. What time are we at, Shannon? Maybe there's room for one more.
114.
Oh wow, we're over and we're taking up a lot of Ryan's time. Let's do one more and let's unhappy marriages. Let's do
Okay.
that one.
All right. It says unhappy marriages may actually be good for your health, says this study. What they claim is that they did a study with 335 adults aged 50 to 89 years old who were not diagnosed with diabetes. They were observed from 2004 to 2013. And it appeared that 76% of them that were cohabitated or married had lower levels of blood sugar, regardless of the status or like how their relationship was going.
Well, their blood sugar levels are lower, I'll just argue, because no one cooks. So your blood sugar level is going to drop if you're not eating because no one cooks the food.
That's fair.
How about that?
I
So
like
they
it.
said, yeah, I thought you said there was no difference in levels.
No difference in regards to if they were happy in the relationship or if they were in a shitty relationship.
So how does the study prove that it's better then if it said there was no difference?
So it's versus people that were not in relationships.
Oh yeah.
So just the fact,
Whether you're in a happy or a sad relationship, it's still better than being in no relationship.
yes,
That's
just
what
the
they're
act
saying.
of being in a relationship somehow keeps your blood sugar down.
Yeah, I think they've.
Take
I think
offense at that, Ryan?
they've done that study a million times. Yeah.
Do you find it to be valid?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if I'm like single out on the scene, I'm like definitely living harder. You're living a simpler life, probably 9 out of 10 times, you know. I bet you throw kids into that mix, then I bet you the scales tip the other way a little bit but if you just go, hey, someone that, you know, lives with their like girlfriend or whatever versus someone that's like out on the scene dating, I bet you there's a million, you know, I think it's pretty easy to explain why one of them is like higher stress and stuff like that, maybe.
Because you're living the single people are living more of a tumultuous lifestyle. Is tumultuous a word I can use here? I can shoehorn into the podcast to make us sound more intelligent, Shannon?
It's something, I think something like that, I guess. I don't know. But then there's the other part of me. I'm just like, depending on the person, it's so much less stress. But there is something, they have done this study a lot. And it was like, yeah, people that are, and it's also different for guys and girls, by the way.
Guys
Right?
have more stress, women have more stress.
Well, the difference between like women in a relationship versus guys in a relationship is different. Right?
And what do you make of it?
Shannon, the research department, can you back me up?
Yes, I know what you're referring to. This study though is specific because I think they say that women
This one doesn't gender it.
right, yes. And this is just saying just sugar level. Where
So what's their reason of why it's healthier to be in a relationship than not in their idea?
I believe it has to do with the emotional connection. I'm trying to find the quote.
Yeah, that was what they were trying to sell, probably, right?
Yes.
Right. I think that because they're always trying to sell something in these articles, but our investigative tactics uncover it. They're
Yeah,
trying to sell that it's like emotional stability makes you eat better, and therefore your blood sugar is lower.
It says
Yeah, right.
here in this quote, one of the doctors said, "I would speculate that marriage and cohabitating partnerships require a particular emotional investment over a long period of time.
Right.
And then the salience of this type of relationship likely means that the loss of it may have implications for health, such as average blood sugar levels."
Oh my God. That's a
The
tricky
breakup?
thing.
Maybe
So
they're
just sort of you like are having some investment in the world makes you sort
Right.
of live longer, whether that be a
They don't
person.
actually, these articles like don't actually say it. They're kind of alluding to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't really love that because that's not science.
They also leave
No,
out so many,
also
like,
there's so many more factors that they're just like picking one.
that's exactly
Right.
what I was going to say, is they leave out any of the other, like what you were talking about, Ryan, is if you're like a single guy and you're going out drinking, like they're not accounting for any of that.
Right. So it is crazy to be like, they go, oh, if we found that people that are in relationships are a little healthy, and they're like, probably because love is so great. That's basically their
Yes.
conclusion.
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, well,
Probably because love is so great.
it's essentially their conclusion that they're making. And you go,
Oh my
okay, what
God.
about the million other things? Are they sleeping less? Are they like working harder? Like, are they are they shouldering the burden of a hot rent in a high city? Because I bet you it's different in different places, you know?
God, you know what, Ryan? You sniffed this one out and you really shot them down. And I think it's
Also, are they factoring it? Is that it isn't actually better for guys, but since they're blending it all together, it averages out as better. A lot of
your
problems.
message is heard loud and clear through our community. Love is stupid and it doesn't help you at all. And I think with that, Ryan,
At the very least, I need way harder evidence. This isn't even going to scratch the surface of me being on board
this
with
evidence is fake news and stupid. I'll just
It's fake
stare at what
news.
you're saying. I think it's stupid. Well, thank you so much.
Definitely a bit of fake
And in
news.
that last article, you really just whipped the blanket off of it, and it like exposed.
Well,
these
you know, it's funny.
articles for what they
I
are.
whipped the blanket off a guy in the subway and also exposed something. So to bring it back to the job that I was meant to do.
New transit reporter, Ryan Long. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it. I know you're very busy. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
For
Yes.
Shannon, for Ryan, I'm Mike Vecchione. Thank you for joining us, guys. We will see you next week.